So you've been counting your calories to manage your weight for a while now, but it's taking up a lot of your time. Or you do really well counting your calories, but then you forget one day and spiral out of control and it becomes this ugly cycle. Do you wonder how long you can keep this up? Are you ready to try something different and still move towards your health goals without being glued to your food scale or MyFitnessPal? Then keep watching, because in this video, I'm gonna share with you how to take the first steps to quit calorie counting and learn how to trust your body to do the math. Hey friends, I'm Christina. I'm a nutrition coach, and I love talking about sustainable eating skills without restrictive diets or calorie counting so we can focus on the other things in our lives. If you have counted calories for a while now, it can be difficult to let go of that, which is totally understandable. It's what's familiar to you. There's a formula to follow, and it gives us a sense of control over our eating. Many people are worried that if they stop, they will gain a bunch of weight or that they just can't be trusted. Especially if you are someone who eats well most of the time, but then struggles with binge eating or emotional eating, it can feel like we're in a vicious cycle. If I can just stay on track and count my calories, we say, I will lose or maintain my goal weight. In a perfect world, it's pretty simple, but often our world is not perfect, and it can be super frustrating. You may wonder, how long do I have to keep this up? Do you imagine yourself in a nursing home someday plugging in your meals to MyFitnessPal to make sure you've hit your targets for the day? Probably not. In my work with clients, I ask them to reflect on reasons for change. What happens if you make the change? What happens if you don't? What do you think will get in the way of that? Maybe you've experienced this example that many of my clients have shared with me. Picture this. You're sitting on the couch with your loved ones after a big holiday meal together. You don't see them very often and you long to be present with them, but all you can think about is calculating how many calories you overate at that dinner and how guilty you feel. It's challenging when we want to be mentally present with someone, but our minds are focused on other things. Calorie counting can become obsessive. When you spend a chunk of time rigidly counting calories, you're using that number as your guide. So when we stop using it as a guide, a person suddenly has unlimited freedom, which often involves overeating or binge eating because they don't know any other way to guide their intake, and they end up undoing all of the calorie deficit that they worked so hard to maintain. Is this cycle allowing you to live your life to the fullest? There are healthier and less stressful ways of managing your food life, so you don't have to fall into underdoing it or overdoing it. So where do you start? The first step is to put the food scale away, delete MyFitnessPal, and agree with yourself. I'm going to stop counting calories and start listening to what my body is telling me. So what we are moving towards is practicing noticing physical hunger, not your mind, which are those urges, cravings, and emotions that we experience. Your body will tell you when it's had enough, so we're going to pay attention. It's worth considering and asking yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of this meal? I might say, I want to feel pleasantly full and satisfied. I want to be present and savor my meal with my loved ones. I want to enjoy the meal and dessert afterwards without feeling like I went overboard. I know that if I have more than one serving of that ice cream after dinner, I'm going to feel sleepy and overstuffed. So we make decisions that will help us feel the way we want to at the end of the meal. So if you're new to hunger-directed eating, it's okay if this is difficult at first. And I know it's scary to think of letting go of something we know to choose something we haven't experienced yet. If you've been counting calories for a long time, you cannot unknow how many calories are in the foods you're eating. But it can be helpful to remind yourself that you're focusing on how you feel and not how many calories you should be having. Sometimes it's hard to ask ourselves to stop thinking about something. Maybe you're trying to stop thinking about food or your weight or how many calories you're eating. It's almost as if the more we try to stop, the more we debate ourselves. So instead, we're just going to try to proactively consider the intentions and energy we want to bring and practice that instead. For my clients, when they reflect back on all the years they counted calories, it hasn't led to sustained weight loss. In fact, it just makes them further obsess about their food. So let's just give ourselves permission to stop. It's very freeing. If you have those urges to go back to old ways, Try to assume benevolence. That part of you that wants to keep counting calories is trying to help you. So you can say thank you, but gently remind that part of you that you're going to take a break from calorie counting and try a different method to take care of yourself. This takes a lot of practice, repetition, and self-kindness. Think of these skills as trying out an experiment. Each time you're collecting data for what you're trying and what you want to try next time. Be kind with yourself. And remember, you can now dedicate the time, energy, and mental bandwidth you were using before to count calories to focus on the other wonderful things in your life. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to learn more eating skills, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. If there's a specific eating skill you would like to see a video about, contact me, and I will see you next time.